toilet the.
Hello, kiddies. Welcome to Gags from the
Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to our year-end episode of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Jason. I'll be your host tonight. Joining me, as always, we have Mondo.
Hello.
And Jody.
Hello.
And joining us again is Crazy Sexy Ghoul, otherwise known as Kimberly from Fangoria.
Hi.
Hey, welcome back. How are you?
Good. How have you all been?
Good,
good.
Yeah, we're just making it.
We've survived 2024.
Me and Jody have definitely been deep in it in many ways, but
quite literally today.
Literally. But again, thank you for everyone for listening throughout the year. We're going to dive right into it. We're going to be doing a review of our top 10 movies. We're going to be talking about some honorable mentions, talk about a couple of our other favorite things, and we're going to talk about what movies we're looking forward to in 2025. So the way we do our top 10 rankings, that each of us made a top 10 list. Then I did a weighted ranking. So if a movie was ranked number 1 on the list, it got 10 points. Number 2 got 9 points, and so on and so forth. So each selection got a point value. And then I pulled those together, and I took the top 10 list from that. Each of us is going to get a chance. Pretty much whoever had it ranked the highest will get a chance to start off with a discussion of why they loved it. And then we'll kind of, talk about a little bit before moving on. If you've watched Blake and Horror, this will make much more sense. But we're going to dive right into it. Our number 10 film of the year is VHS Beyond. Jody, tell us why you picked this movie.
Oh, yeah. No, I just thought it was great. It's one of the best entries in the entire VHS series, I think. Just fantastic moments in there. Like I will never forget the skydiving moment and the gory scenes that followed afterwards. The fur baby segment is cemented in my brain forever. It's just a great collection of segments and pretty consistent. And just if you have an anthology where I don't have any segments that I'm like, well, that was bad and I have to like skip it. There were some that were maybe less exciting, but nothing that I just hated. So yeah, overall, really solid entry in this franchise.
Yeah, I also had this on my list, and the fact that it is like the 7th installment and it's still this good. I mean, I can't imagine any other series where this. I would say this might be the most even of all the VHS movies all around, and is still producing new and interesting, unique segments. Is still really, really impressive.
Yeah. No, I just
it wasn't on my list, but it would have been top 15 for me at least. Like this was one of the hardest lists I've ever had to put together because there's so much good stuff that came out this year. So it's still great. It just wasn't quite top 10 for me.
I think the last episode I did with all of you was for that movie. And it didn't make my list because the Bollywood segment made me ill, but I really did enjoy all of them after I went back and watched them because I did that episode with you guys. So it was close on there, but it was a good year for horror. So
yeah.
And
my list of things that I've missed this year and haven't watched yet is just as long as my list of top 10s because there's so many good things out there that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, it's interesting to see like the variety in our lists. And I'll talk more about that at the end. But again, to think that, at this point that a VHS movie would have made our top 10, is pretty wild. So I'm really happy about that. All right. Number 9, Kim, this is one of your selections, and I'm probably not going to say this right. Voderlock.
yeah.
Which again, it's a movie. It's on my list to watch. I just didn't get it in. So
same.
Tell us about this movie.
I feel like it was a big year for vampire films. This one is extra special for many reasons, but I, for one, really enjoy the fact that the vampire, and not to be a spoiler, but the vampire is a puppet.
Yeah.
And that makes me really happy. It's a really beautiful movie. It has a really like kind of somber tone throughout it, and then it gets very strange, and it feels like it's from the 60s. It doesn't feel like it's from now, which I don't even know how they captured so authentically, but it's a really beautiful French vampire film with a vampire puppet, and you don't expect to like feel the sentience of the puppet so much, but you do.
Yeah, that's like magic filmmaking when it can make me feel something for something that's completely inanimate. Interesting.
Right before Nosferatu too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have 3 vampire movies on your list, so that's kind of your jam, I guess.
Yeah, this one played at Chattanooga Film Fest this year, and I missed it there. But it's the same story as the Vorderlock segment from Black Sabbath, right? Yeah. And I love that. That's my favorite part of Black Sabbath too. So yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, me too. I missed it as well, and it's been on my list. So hopefully I'm off the next few days. So hopefully in the next few days I'll catch up.
Yeah, like with most great things that I watch that you don't hear a ton about, Chattanooga Film Festival and Fango put it on my radar. So I was excited for that when it came to Chattanooga, and then I just watched again because it just started. I feel like this last segment of this year just like evaporated, but it came out at some point on streaming in the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's pretty recent. All right. Our number 8 movie, Mondo, is Terrifier 3.
Yeah, Terrifier. I just watched it. I liked it more on my second viewing. I actually did. And we watched it Christmas morning, as any proper family should. Granted, it was just me and my wife at home, so it's not that big. I wouldn't watch out my mother-in-law because she probably never talked to me again. But I just thought I love the fact that we have this new Halloween franchise kind of where every year I'm going to look forward to, like, if you ask us what I'm looking forward to in 2025, it's Terrifier 4. And the fact they built on the world building of it, and even watching it a second time and knowing some of the things that was going to happen made the movie even more enjoyable with some of the bits and pieces and smaller little things in there. But I'm a big fan of Art the Clown. David Howard Thornton really just makes that character. And I truly think when we're old men now, but when we're in our 60s or whatever, when Jody and I are in our 60s and Jason's like 85, we will the kids that are our age now, or that are our age, they're in the 40s, they'll be talking about growing up with Art the Clown. And I'm pretty excited to see where that goes, because it's got all the legs, and hopefully they keep going forward with it.
I'm still amazed that Terrifier movies are on my top 10 list, because when that first one came out, I was not a fan at all. Like it did not work for me. But since then, I've been all on board, and I watched 2 and 3 in a big double feature, which is really long. It's a lot in the theater, but I really like this one too.
Yeah, interesting. You and Mondo had the same spot. That was cool. Yeah, I appreciate these movies. I especially appreciate the filmmaking that goes into it. I don't connect with it as much as I do some other movies to make my top 10 list, but I really appreciate and love the fandom that this has created. It's a great thing for horror.
I felt like I didn't deserve it, and I was at the world premiere at Fantastic Fest for this movie, and I didn't expect to like it because I'm not a huge fan of the franchise, but I love a Christmas horror. It was so much fun. That was back in September, but it really put me in the mood for Christmas, which, a good gory, disgusting movie like that can do for me. So I appreciated it.
Yeah, Christmas Day, we started the day off with Terrifier 3. Then we watched Santa's Sleigh, the best Christmas movie of all time. And then we watched The Holdovers. So 3 pretty drastically different films.
Yeah. A bit of a tonal shift. Speaking of tonal shifts, next we have at number 7, Immaculates.
Yes.
Jody, go ahead.
I love this movie. I mean, I have a soft spot for like Italian nunsploitation anyway. Like if it's a nun movie where bad things happen, I'm gonna watch it. And I just thought this was really fun. Sydney Sweeney did a great job in that role, much better than I would have expected her to. There's some cool nods to kind of other nunsploitation movies. Like there's the soundtrack that pops up in the middle of it that sitting in the theater, it's from The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. And as soon as that soundtrack dropped in, I'm like, oh yeah, this movie's made for people like me. It's got a crazy ending, maybe one of the best endings of the year. I loved it. So yeah, give me more nunsploitation. I got Benedetta a couple of years ago. I get this now. Just keep on bringing these out there. I like that trashy movies are coming back to the cinema.
I think I saw it before you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I would say this is like a trashy movie, but made like with a big budget, with like
it's a big
really,
budget
really good
movie.
and like big Hollywood. Which made me like it even more. I couldn't choose between this one and First Omen, so I decided not to put either on my list. But I kind of love both of them. But I do think it hurt. It kind of like in hindsight, like in competition with each other, you kind of have to choose one.
I think I liked First Omen too. That's probably also top 15 for me if you put a gun to my head. But Immaculate was just, I thought, like Jody said, had those Italian vibes that the First Omen didn't have. Like it reminded me of that old nunsploitation genre. I think I saw it before Jody. I messaged him and was like, "You're gonna love this." So I can't wait to see this. So I think it was one of my top 5. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, this one wasn't on my list, but First Omen was. I like this one better the second time I watched it, but it's just somewhere in the middle. I was just like, I don't care anymore. I don't know what happened. I really liked the secondary nun, her roommate. Her performance was really good. I think that kept me invested the whole time. But
they came out with kind of that convent movie about a year ago too, before Immaculate. I can't remember the name of it, but I saw it in the theater and was pretty upset when I walked out of the theater. And it reminds me what that movie was trying to do. Where this one had that style.
Agnes,
the other one was I'm sorry,
something Agnes or
no, not no. I can't remember the name of it. It starts with a C, I think. But someone right now is yelling at their car stereo, being like, "It's this."
Well, yeah,
but,
I think
that's how non-memorable it was. But this one will sit with me for a while. Like the cinematography is what really, really kind of got me.
Yeah, this is really well made, and there's a lot of times where it could have gone cliche. That's why, like, based on the trailer, I was expecting it to go to those places, and it totally didn't. It totally avoided all those traps. So,
especially that ending.
Yeah, the ending is very, very good. So big
and I don't think First Omen was also awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
I walked in there expecting like an Exorcist believer type kind of movie, and I got blew away my expectations in a good way.
Yeah. All right, for number 6, again, speaking of big budget horror movies that on paper I wasn't that excited about when I saw it, really blew me away, is Smile 2. I had this high on my list. I did not like the first Smile. I thought it was like overly dramatic. It was like a parody. It felt like a parody to me. And then when I saw this one at like a test screening, and it was just like, I was just like, wow, this is everything I wanted the first one to be. It just brought in some fun, but was still super intense. Naomi Scott is just so good in this role. You feel exhausted going on this ride with her. And it had some of the biggest jump scares, of the year, probably in a while, that like in the theater really got me going. So like I haven't felt like adrenaline literally in my body after a movie. I can remember last time I felt that like hyped afterwards. So it went big. It went a little campy, but not too over the top. And just kind of fun.
I feel like it was a good level of campiness, like it just enough to be playful with the concept,
Well, it was in a campy world, which the pop star world, which is inherently campy, but the movie itself was completely straight.
Yeah, it earned its jump scares, and a lot of movies don't, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. I don't like jump scares as a general rule, but when you earn them, then I'm on board.
Yeah, like that scene in the ballroom, it just makes me my skin like crawl. But also kind of funny at the end when she throws that woman over.
Does it have to be 2 hours long though? Can we cut these run times down just a little bit?
Yeah, but I don't know but what would you cut in this movie?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's just, and to be fair, at no point was I looking at the clock or was I feeling bored. So
right, yeah. It's just the cinematography and the way the camera was in this movie is just so inventive and fresh. I really enjoyed that. And you just get a taste of Kyle Gallner at the beginning. It's like a little appetizer. All right. The next movie on our list is at number 5, Oddity, which was Kim, your number 1 movie.
Ooh.
So I kept thinking after you asked me to send over the list, I couldn't decide, but Oddity was the film that all year I was like, that was my favorite film this year. And I feel like I just assigned that to myself and ran with it because I think about it multiple times a day. For anyone that's not familiar, because I don't think it got the traction it deserved when it was in theaters. Oddity was Damien McCarthy, who's an Irish filmmaker that also made Caveat, which is a totally different tone, but I really like that film too. There's little nods to that in this, but it's like a very traditional dark ghost story that's made modern, and I don't think there's a single thing in it where it made me like it took me out of the movie. And I think that's why I can't stop thinking about it. I was scared from beginning to end, in a very like turning of the screw type of way, like very somber, dark. There were jump scares in it, but they weren't like back to back or anything like that. It was a special film, and Carolyn Bracken played 2 roles. And even though they were supposed to be twins, like you really believe they were 2 separate people, which I think was amazing for like not a very seasoned actress. Well, maybe seasoned's not the right word, but somebody who hasn't been in a ton of stuff. I couldn't believe how well she pulled that off.
Yeah, this is high up. This is number 3 on my list. I don't usually like English castle or whatever, countryside ghost stories. Those don't really do much for me, but this one like captivated me. It did so many things that were interesting. It was so well made, and there is another jump scare in this that really got me. That was just perfectly executed. Probably the single best jump scare in a long time. Really well acted. The drama was really high. Again, I think one of my barometers for a good horror movie is if you take out whatever the supernatural, whatever the horror thread is, and it would still be an interesting movie. That's how you know that's a really good sign. And this is, again, you could take out all the supernatural stuff and just have it be about the husband and the wife and all the other stuff that's going on, the drama and that, and you'd still watch it. But adding in what happens is what makes it really, really special.
My 8 through 10 could have been are interchangeable, and this is probably number 11 for me. I really, really had a great time with it. And everything you said, Kimberly, is spot on. It was, and that creepy freaking mannequin at the table, I will never forget. But this is also one of those movies that stuck with me to where I want to revisit and watch it again, and not a lot of movies do that.
This is one that I haven't seen for one reason, and it's that a lot of times I end up watching movies with my teenagers, and my daughter hates ghost movies, and so I just never got to it with her. And then when I watch stuff, a lot of times it's later at night, and so a lot of times I go for something, I couldn't watch around them, something, a little more adult, a little trashy or something like that. So I haven't got to it yet, but I've heard nothing but good things. So it's on my to watch list with many other things.
Yeah, I try to, whenever like Bloody Good Horror major podcasts start covering a movie, I just want to be kind of in the know. So I watched the trailer. I was like, that doesn't really seem my kind of movie. And then, the fact that I was that hyped for it afterwards is a really good testament to it.
Yeah, the wooden doll is terrifying, and the hospital guard, Ivan, is like one of the creepiest characters in a movie I've ever seen.
Definitely. And the fact that it's just like reach into the golem doll's head. Oh, that was so nerve-wracking.
I know.
Oh, and I don't think it had that big of a budget either. It was a lot of it was shot like in one room, which in those kind of cases you really have to have the actors and eat up the scenery and drive that. And it is such a good job.
Yeah, we had Damien on the Fango community live with one day. I don't know if any of you made it to that one because it was in the middle of the day because he's in Ireland. But like talking about the editing process and the budget on that, like what they pulled off was amazing.
Nice,
definitely. I was actually kind of blown away when I saw what the budget was. I was like, there's no way they made it for that cheap, because it does not look like a cheap movie, even a little bit.
Speaking of small budget movies, our number 4 movie, which was my number 1, is In a Violent Nature. Again, movie that doesn't obviously didn't have much of a budget, and actually on the DVD they have a whole feature about how they actually shot it once and deemed it wasn't like usable really, and they used their effects budget, their post-production budget to redo it so they can then put out a better product. And it really shows for a movie that like had a concept that like on paper you're like, that sounds really dumb. And then to sit there in the theater, and it was just so relaxing. It was just kind of like going for the ride, but then there's these like big horrific set pieces, like hugely horrific.
But watching the camera follow him over the shoulder, and he's just walking, is like oddly therapeutic.
Yes.
I was like just watching it, just chilling out. I think I was pretty high when I watched that too, and I'm watching it just chilling out. Like, this is kind of nice. Oh wait, now he's killing people. I mean, it's still cool.
There's something so captivating about the quietness of it, because there's scenes that it's just like nature sounds and him walking, and then like there's the scene with them in the water. There's some women swimming, and one of them just like disappears silently, and it's so effective. But like nothing happens. It's quiet and in the distance. I don't know what it is about it, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from it.
Go ahead.
Oh, the cinematographer, Pierce Dirks, is a friend of mine, and I was talking to him about it. But he also works with Steve Kostansky on stuff like Psycho Gorman and Freako, which I think is funny. Like the three people involved in all of those films all work together in a violent nature, which is just like such unexpected, weird slasher. And it really is. You're like watching this super peaceful nature film with really brutal, gory, disgusting stuff in it. And it's just special that they were like, well, let's go for a little stroll and, then do this crazy kill that won a Fangoria award for the craziest
kill. I was going to say one of them is a top 10 of the year. Easy. Maybe number 1 of the year.
The Hook. Or Chainsaw Award.
I don't want to spoil anything for that one, but man.
Wait, are you guys talking about The Hook?
Yeah.
Of course.
I think after I saw it, I think I told both you guys that was my kill, like, of all time.
Easy.
Right. And again, this is a movie I think it's really made in the editing in it, because it could have gone on way too long. And gone boring, but it was like perfectly calibrated. So
somehow even in the quiet moments, it never gets boring.
The documentary that's attached to the special features that Jason was talking about is like showing you how they made the original film, and it was like, did people die making this?
Yeah,
it was looked pretty brutal to be on set for that.
It was like
it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, because it was like raining the whole time. Like, it's amazing how beautiful the movie turns out when you see the behind the scenes stuff, like how brutal it was to make. So again, hats off to them. Just again, also for like recognizing they could have just said, okay, this is fine, we'll just put it out, it'll be whatever. But they they kind of, you could see they were like passionate about it. They really wanted to make the best thing possible. And again, the proof is in the pudding. It really shows.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting right down to it. Number 3 is Abigail. Kim.
I love Abigail. I feel like it did not. People have like really contentious opinions about this one, and I think it was so well done. It's funny. It's dark. It has a lot of characters in it, from like recognizable actors that you don't even realize are them because their characters are so fun. It was just like super fun from start to finish, which I didn't think I got enough just straight out fun from anything this year besides like Terrifier 3. So having Abigail there was nice. And then I have so many people that didn't watch it or didn't fully enjoy it. I was not a Catherine Newton fan until I saw her in this movie, and she's
great in this.
Yeah, this is another one I saw a test screening of, and I was like mad that I couldn't talk to anyone about how much I love this movie. I couldn't like talk to share about it, so I had to wait. So like this was, I actually had this slot as my number 1 movie, like, but many like towards the beginning of the year, and I guess some of the shine have fallen off of it, but it's still so fun. So many great characters. Melissa Barrera is so good in this. And then
everybody loves Dan Stevens in this.
Dan Stevens. What's the big guy? What's his name?
Durant.
Yeah. Oh my God.
He's so good.
He's so good in this.
I'm ashamed I didn't put this on my top 10 because I totally forgot it came out this year. And you mentioned it, I was like, oh shit. I loved Abigail. That was like a lot of people dissed it too because they said the trailer gave away too much.
Yeah.
But the hard part is with a movie like this is if you didn't give away something, people aren't going to go see it. Like they had to do that to get people excited about it. And it's not like it's almost, I really didn't hate the fact it was spoiled by the trailer because I sat down in the theater and watched it. Like I was like, ooh, you guys are assholes. You're going to get it. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie works even once you know it. I think that reveal might have turned some people off from the trailer, but the movie works knowing that completely.
Yeah.
I feel like it wasn't like everybody expects that M. Night Shyamalan secret twist thing, and this was just like a movie where the people in the movie weren't in on it. It was okay that we were in on it.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, this movie sold me from the moment it said vampire ballerina. Like I was 100%, like that got me in the theater, and I loved it. This was my number 2. It was my number 1 up until I watched something a few weeks ago that it probably will come up later, but
not until not to spoil anything, but the scene where they also think they have her locked up is one of my favorite scenes of the entire year.
So good.
And again, a child actress
She's great.
But yeah, she held her own. That was really impressive.
Yeah, cool, there's lots of blood.
Yeah, I love like the behind the scenes interviews with her like in the makeup, just talking like a normal person. It's really creepy. That's even creepier than the movie itself. But great gore too in that one. I really like that.
Yeah, I like the teeth. Sometimes vampire teeth lose it for me. It was good.
They're cool vampire teeth, and I love the fact that when a vampire gets staked in this movie, they just explode. It's just great.
They just fart. It's fine.
It's a wet sound when they get stabbed.
Wouldn't that be a great like vampire mythos? What happens if you hit them with a stake? Well, they won't die, but they will fart, and everyone will make fun of them, and they don't like that. They'll embarrass them.
Yeah, it's so funny how Dan Stevens has turned into this like villain actor now after playing like Sweet Cousin Matthew.
He's had this resurgence. He was horror.
We're in the Dan Stevens Renaissance, man.
Yeah,
I'm for it.
All right. Our number 2 movie of the year is Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah.
Mondo, talk about this movie.
I was getting nervous because I'm like, man, are any of the movies I picked on this list? Late Night with the Devil. Again, my number 1 is pretty solid, but my 2 and 3 definitely could be interchangeable. And up until I saw number 1 and number 2 on my list, I was Late Night with the Devil is my favorite movie of the year. I think it's just so creative in what they do. The fact it actually has the vibe of that era and the way it's shot. I love how it's like the pseudo mockumentary where you get behind the scenes, like every piece has worked. And then what kind of threw it over the top for me was all the little Easter eggs they put in the movie. Like at the beginning, when the movie started, I hear the Pentagram song, Forever My Queen. I love Pentagram pop on. And I know the lyrics of that song. And when you watch the movie, the lyrics fit the movie. And I was like, holy shit, they were thinking. And then like with the Anton Zandalove reference, the reference to Bohemian Grove and all these, like, they took all these real life kind of conspiracy theories, or obviously the Church of Satan was not a truly theistically satanic church. It was all just philosophy of a guy. But they took all these and twisted it for their needs and made this really, really great story. And I know a lot of people didn't love the ending, but I thought the ending was amazing because I thought it's what kind of it kind of, that's a point you step out of the mockumentary and into like this guy's mind. And David Dastmalchian.
David Dastmalchian.
I can never pronounce his name. Shout out to him too, by the way. Also, he writes comic books. Is a really cool comic book out called Knights versus Samurais, which I need to catch up on, but it's really good. And he was phenomenal in this. He's always been one of those character actors that has that face you can never forget once you see him. Like the first time, I think one of the first movies I saw him in was The Dark Knight Rises. And you can't forget that face. And I love every time I see him pop up, but this is the first time I truly saw him just kind of, I don't want to say he carried it because that'd be a disservice to the other actors and actresses that were in this that were just fantastic. But the fact that he had to drive it, I guess.
Well, it's the first movie that gave him the keys to drive a movie. The first time they gave him the keys to drive a movie, and it just came out so well. And like again, Dark Knight was his very first like major film. So like, to go on doing the Christopher Nolan set, it must have been. I listened to an interview with him a couple weeks ago, and just hearing about how intimidating that must have been for him.
Yeah, when he was on Joe Bob, he was just fantastic on Joe Bob. I loved hearing him talk about. He's a guy who's passionate about horror. He's passionate about all the nerdy shit we're into, and to see them make a movie that was this good with virtually. And I know the one knock I'll get out of the way is the use of AI scenery, obviously, which I have discussed that they weren't. Whatever. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
But it was very minimal, at least.
Yeah. Well, and he seemed like he was having so much fun with this role. Like he felt like he was just right in his element from the moment it opened up on him. I love all the period nods and everything, and it's just a cool movie. Like I could sit there and watch that anytime.
Yeah,
I did buy the special edition with the VHS collector's tape that has the original broadcast on it.
Yeah,
but I just got to get around to hooking my VCR up now.
Kim, we're gonna add something.
Oh, just the possession in the film. This is something that I wasn't sure. I thought that was what was going to, make me not like it, and I think that it was some of the best acting I've seen.
That little girl was great.
Yeah.
The way they had her keep looking at the camera and it was kind of cool because like they always tell you, Grant, I've never been on TV, but they tell you if you're on TV, you don't look at the camera. And that's like one of the first things they tell you as an actor, like don't look in the camera, or if you're on a talk show or whatever. I love the fact that she didn't look in the camera except for when she wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, so it was very intentional. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. She really took over for me. Every actor in that film was great. So the little things that came up that might not have been great or that would have ruined the film were all completely overshadowed by the fact that performances were so good.
Yeah.
What's the name of the psychic guy?
Remember?
I always want to call him, if you ever watched the Larry Sanders Show, I always want to call him, hey now, I forgot the guy's name. Damn, I forgot.
It's Chris Stu, because I have my special edition right here with my little Chris Stu.
Not Chris Stu, the announcer.
The announcer guy.
That guy.
Yeah, whoever he was like my character of the year.
Oh yeah, the one who kept wanting to like shut it down the whole time.
Yeah.
If I had to give one like negative to it, it was the I forgot what the guy's name in real life, but the skeptic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because he got a little bit overbearing at times, but the way his character ends, makes it all work.
Well, if you've ever seen like the 80s and 70s talk shows where they'd have somebody like the Amazing Randy on there.
Amazing Randy, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's how it went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was supposed to be a little overbearing, kind of
a little bit of a buzzkill. Yeah.
But his finale makes up for his annoyance. Like it all kind of comes full circle.
Yeah. All right, and then our number one film. This was the top film on two of our lists, and the second film on another one is The Substance.
Yes.
Jody,
I am now shocked that Longlegs didn't make this list, but that's okay.
We'll get to those.
Yeah, no, The Substance, like I said, Abigail was the number one on my list until just a few weeks ago when I finally got around to watching The Substance. And as soon as I watched that, I'm like, oh, well, that's the best thing I'll see this year. Like, yeah, it's fantastic. There's so many cool effects, great performances, so many like interesting decisions. Like, there's almost no dialogue for a big chunk of the movie, and it's just all conveyed through the actions and the actresses' faces, and it's so great. It's captivating. Like from the beginning, I loved every bit of this. It gets wilder and crazier and crazier and crazier as it goes till we have this huge, ridiculous, over the top ending. And I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I wouldn't change a thing about it. It's so good.
Yeah, I love this movie too. I went to Zombie Girls and talked about it for like 2 hours or something ridiculous. With them. It's bombastic. There's the performances for Demi Moore and Margaret Quigley and was it Dennis Quaid?
Yeah.
Like they're all like so memorable and so in your face. And yeah, someone who lives in California, there's a lot of things in there that I really gleamed onto. It's just such those creature effects are top notch.
And the body horror before you even get to the crazy creature effects, there's some squirm inducing stuff early on.
Yeah. Am I the only one who didn't have this on my list?
Yeah, you're the only one that didn't have it.
If I could just pick the third act by
Mhm.
itself, which I won't say the name in case somebody somehow hasn't watched this movie, that would be my probably number 3 film of the year, just the third act by itself. So I like it more than I did the first time I watched it, but it's just I don't know. There's that third act and the scene with Demi Moore in the kitchen are some of the greatest filmmaking I've seen in a long time. I think those scenes changed my mind for how I felt about it from the first half. It's not a good sign when Dennis Quaid's your favorite part of a movie, even though he's disgusting. He was really good in this role of being awful.
And I think that's just him, that he wasn't really acting.
Yeah.
No, he's awful in real life too. So it's what I like about it too is it shows the struggle, because my wife and I were just talking about this, how you get it's almost it's finally starting to change now in the mid 2020s, where it used to be you could be an older male actor and they'd have you married to a woman 40 years your junior. Yeah. And is the struggle for the female aging actress was always that, oh, once you're supposed beauty, I don't really mean that, because I think Demi Moore is still gorgeous to this day.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of aging to me doesn't like take away someone's beauty, but I do think that like Hollywood definitely has a stigma about this, and the way they kind of attacked it head on, I really enjoyed that factor. How even though she was so good at her job and so well beloved, that she was still kind of pushed to the wayside for this younger actress, and which ended up being her, obviously, in a different way. But yeah, I thought this movie is super creative, and I loved it. Someone told me not to take my child to go see it, but they're 21 and they loved it too. So,
well, and also like, there's a lot of talk about the body horror in this, but like, I think you could show it to someone who is at least open to it, because it's a good ramp up in what happens. It doesn't go too hard too quick. It kind of eases you into each. There's like obvious phases in what happens, and that kind of eases someone into it. So if there's someone who's like, I wouldn't show this to my wife would not like this. But if there's someone who's like at least open to some body horror, it's a good way to get them into a deep end eventually.
And I saw some people who were kind of avoiding it because they were afraid, like they're not into body horror, they don't like the gross. I feel like it's still playful enough that even by the time you get to that finale, it's still fun enough that I don't feel like it's gonna gross you out too bad. Like it's just you're in the moment at that point, or I was anyway.
I'd say that, but I know some normies that went and saw this, and they were very turned off by the third act, by how visceral it was, which I don't. Yeah, same. And it's one of those movies that was really hard to recommend to normies, because I'm like, I think you might like it, but the third act might be a little bit much for you if you're not into some kind of horror. But yeah, the body horror, I'm a big fan of body horror as it is, so it really kind of hit those check those boxes for me.
All right, and there we have it. That's our top 10 films of 2025. Now, of course, there are ones on each of our lists that didn't make the cut. So we're just going to go through those, give everyone a chance to quickly make their case. So Jody, 8 of your films made the list. So you had the most accurate list. The 2 on your list that didn't make the cut were Lisa Frankenstein and The Quiet Place, Day One.
Yeah, no, I just thought Lisa Frankenstein was just a fun movie, and I can understand why it might not make it on a horror list, because it's not very scary. It's not scary at all. Let's just be clear about that. But it's really fun. There's good performances. I do like Catherine Newton. Whichever Sprouse it is that's in the Dylan, I don't know. Cole, one of the Sprouse boys, whoever it is who went from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody to
oh, that's who that was. Okay.
That's who the Frankenstein guy was. But yeah, I thought it was fun performances. It was a fun set with the all the neon and 80s. It's not the real 80s. It's the fun version of 80s that we wish we lived in. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And A Quiet Place, Day One, I thought was just as good as the original. And I really liked the original. It was one of my favorite movies the year that it came out. But it was really well done. Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic in it. It made me want New York pizza really bad.
Overrated.
Yeah, I was going to say it's overrated.
No, it's not my favorite pizza. I will say that. And my friend Allison is going to come after me for saying that.
Oh, no. I had New York pizza in New York when I met Allison, or before I met Allison, because she doesn't eat meat. But it was it was great pizza, but it wasn't like I couldn't get. I guess I can get great pizza here in Las Vegas.
Sure. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed both of those. I like a good apocalyptic story, or a good silly 80s romantic comedy / horror, whatever you might call that one. So yeah.
Lisa Frankenstein is a movie that I totally need to watch. It's been on my list forever, and I think I'll really enjoy it. I just haven't got around to it.
Sure.
It's very cute.
It's cute. Yeah.
I like cute movies.
On my list, I had Infested. I love a good creature feature. And this really hit the spot.
Yeah, Jason, I almost watched that the other night just to see, because a lot of people said it was great, but I just couldn't do it. It was like midnight. I was home downstairs. My wife's already asleep. I'm like, I'm gonna be too scared to go to sleep. I'm gonna be too scared to go to sleep. I can't watch it.
It's not life changing. You'll be okay if you don't watch this movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And also, I tend to like slice of life foreign movies like this.
Sure.
So it's always kind of fun to see that in a horror movie. Which is kind of my other movie, my number 8, I guess, was Speak No Evil. I really liked it. A lot of it comes from being a parent, so it just like really hit my anxiety points. It's a remake, but I think because they're changing the nationalities of it, it kind of justifies some of the changes they make. Like, Americans are going to react differently than a Swedish couple or whoever it is in the original. So it's almost a reimagining or whatever you want to say. Like, I think by changing that, it justifies the changes. Some people might say they're pussing out, but it works. Again, in a vacuum, I thought it was really good.
I don't know. Like, James McAvoy's awesome. I love James McAvoy, which is why I watched it. I did not like the last act of that movie. I just thought that it had different tone. It was a tonal shift, and the fact they took away like what I thought made the original movie so terrifying. They took that away. I did like the fact we actually get to see people fight back, which was nice. Except for that dad was infuriating to me.
Well,
Scooby Mary was infuriating in this movie. But it almost made the changes in the film more, and I'm not giving anything away. It made it more believable. But like, there was half the movie I wanted to just break his leg. Like,
when I was watching, I'm like, this is the point. I'd be like, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go kill this guy. Like, give me 15 minutes. Get in the car and start running the car. I'll be in there in like 15 minutes.
But again, in the vacuum, this is the only movie that gave me a nightmare this year. That's how much anxiety it gave me. My other one, and I wanted to throw in like a really silly movie. Originally, I had Trap as my number 10, but I was looking at the movies of this year. I love Trap. It's just so much cheesy fun.
I don't hate it. I thought it was fun.
I don't hate it either. Trap is not a good movie, but I had fun watching it. So,
but but then I was looking at the movies that actually were this year, and at the very beginning of January, we had Destroy All Neighbors.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. I like that movie a lot.
I love that movie. It's so over the top, stupid, dumb, but it's just so fun. And again, I'm still thinking about it. Yeah. I'm still thinking about almost a year later. So that was a good sign.
That movie with I'm gonna have to watch it again now as I'm thinking of parts and just giggling to myself.
Yeah. Like Alex Winter is just so demented.
The corpse having conversations with the guy.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
And the fact that it makes fun of prog rock, because let's be honest.
All right, Mondo. So for your honorable mentions, you had again Long Legs.
Yes, Long Legs, I think, was just one of those movies that almost gave me like anxiety. I had anxiety for that from start to finish at that movie because it's tense and it never lets up. And I love an unhinged Nicolas Cage. And while he was unhinged, he was restrained in the confines of this character. Like, they gave him like, here's where you can go for it. And he took it in all different directions. And that was, I'm actually surprised I know Jason didn't like it because he doesn't like movies, but I'm surprised that Jody didn't have it on his top 10.
I just haven't seen it. That's it.
Okay.
That's the only reason.
I didn't like it at all. And I think I was the only person I met that was not into that movie that I talked to about it. I wanted to like it. And then I was like, I'm obsessed with Mark Bolan. So I was like, what does T-Rex have to do with murdering people? And then I was like, why are they trying to be convinced that Alicia Witt's old and dowdy? Like, she's one of the sexiest women ever. I don't buy that. And then, like, everyone said legs weren't long enough. So I just
I also had a
that.
huge crush on Alicia Witt growing up. So that was a thing. My biggest thing with this movie is that they didn't really go into the Micah Monroe character, like who she was, or give her any backstory about her life, and that I just couldn't connect with her, and it just took me really out of the movie.
It's one of those movies that my wife hasn't seen yet, and I told her she should watch it, and she goes, I'll probably love it. I'm like, just watch it and form your own opinion, because I don't like pushing my opinions on people, like if they're not gonna like it. My child liked it a lot, and I also, I'm not gonna lie, if I go see a movie in the theater with my child and they like it a lot, I immediately like it even more, because now
easy.
For Christmas I bought them a little figure of the Astro Monsters, the Godzilla action figure where he's doing the Russian dance, because it's the first Godzilla movie we ever saw together in the theater, and they loved it because it's campy. So I think we have really similar taste with movies. But I get your guys' complaints about it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't. I'll never tell anybody they're wrong.
Some of the most respected film critics that I know loved it. Like, people that I really would value their opinion and trust with my life loved it. So I feel like there's just some kind of disconnect I can't get past, besides the jokes that I made just now. Besides the whole thing, I don't know what that means, but I wanted to like it. I liked the idea so much, and then something just didn't hit for me. I'm not sure where it went.
Everyone's been telling me how great Hundreds of Beavers is. I've tried to watch it 3 times and I can't get through 30 minutes of it. So I get it. And I'm like, I need to get through this, but nah.
All right, your next movie is Alien Romulus.
I'm surprised that wasn't on yours, Jason.
I go back and forth. There's so much I like, but so much that infuriates me about that movie. And I think it's just lost a little bit of shine. That the things I dislike annoy me more than the things I liked. It's
maybe. So another cool thing that happened with the new Alien movie is, we had, if you're into comic books like me, because I'm a fucking nerd, they did the Avengers versus Alien, which is really fun, and they just came out with Alien Paradiso, which I think is set in Las Vegas, but I haven't read it yet. I just bought the cover, so I'm into that. No, I love Alien. I love the Alien films, and this one stuck with me, and I haven't watched it a second time, so I never gave it a rewatch, but I will, because my wife still wants to watch it. But I thought it hit every mark for an Alien movie, aside from the one line that we talked about extensively in our Alien Romulus review with Rachel from the Zombie Girls podcast, which really kind of pissed me off. But I thought there's a lot of creative stuff in that movie that just you didn't see in the earlier movies. And sometimes I take a franchise that's really been around for that long, and granted, it hasn't had a ton of movies, but it's had enough to where you have this canon, and to figure out new things to introduce and new ways to do things. I always think that's really fun. And it sounds like, if I remember correctly, now Ridley Scott is going to get the go ahead to expand upon the Prometheus universe. So I'm pretty stoked for that too.
We'll see.
Yeah. Right.
Did you watch that one, Jody?
I haven't seen this one yet, because my son has told me he wants to watch it. Okay. But he hasn't watched the other Alien movies. So I'm looking for a time that we can start back at square one, because he needs to watch. He needs to watch original Alien. He needs to watch Aliens. Then we can watch Romulus. We don't have to watch
it falls between Alien and Aliens.
Yeah, perfect then.
So watch Alien, watch this, then jump into Aliens.
Yeah, that's enough. Like, I really want to watch those with him so he could have that first experience, and that's why we haven't gotten to that yet. But this weekend we got a lot of spare time, so hopefully we get to it.
All right, Mono, your next one was Maxine.
Jesus Christ! Like, does anybody like anything that I like this year?
I love Maxine, and then when I realized that we were all doing rankings, I was like, I'm not going to get to talk about it. So that would have made my list probably somewhere.
Yeah, Maxine, to me, that gritty New York feel. Like, I'm a big believer that all of, maybe not Pearl, but X and Maxine, that Ty West, I can never remember. Ty West. He was definitely inspired by Lucio Fulci. There's a lot of scenes in X which like the splinter through the eye. Come on. And then Maxine seems like it could have been set in the same world as a New York Ripper, just by the aesthetics of it, the way it's shot, the way it's done. And I thought this was like such a sleazy like throwback to the Grindhouse era, and that's kind of like one of my favorite eras of movie. So I absolutely loved Maxine, probably my favorite of the trilogy. And that's not knocking the other two. I love the other two movies as well. It's just little bit above those. But I think what's really cool about that trilogy is most people have you don't meet a ton of people. Like everyone has like their own favorite movie of that. What stuck with them the most, and I think that's really cool.
Kevin Bacon was also so good in Maxine.
Yes, yes, he was.
All right, your other movie, you have two more. Heretic.
Yeah, Heretic.
I actually really like that. I just didn't make my top 10.
Same.
This one. So when I say my 8, 9, and 10 can probably be interchanged with other movies, it might be some recency bias. Yeah. I just watched Heretic like 2 weeks ago, and creepy Hugh Grant is kind of awesome.
I love it.
Yes,
go see Pennington too.
I've never seen the first one. My child's really older. I'm not like randomly seeing. Hey, I'm not saying I shouldn't.
To defend as an adult, the Paddington movies are worth watching.
Oh no, I think I'll definitely enjoy them. Don't get me wrong.
You don't have to get around. It's fine.
They're pure joy on cellular.
They're just wholesome and pure. Yeah.
And I'm surprised that Jason said that, considering he does not like fun. Yeah, but
all right, Mondo, your other movie is Blink Twice.
Yeah, Blink Twice kind of blew me away because all I could think about watching this movie, because this movie came out when that whole fucking would you rather be alone in the woods with a man or a bear came around. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, everyone who said that they want to be alone in the woods with a man should watch Blink Twice. Blink Twice is like the ultimate reason why you'd want to go hang out with the bear. Not to mention, I saw an article today about a man who punched a bear to save his chihuahua. I'm like, I would do that. And if I knock the bear out, I'm touching that soft spot right here between their eyes. And it's probably gonna be so awesome. My child's also into bears, and we're talking about how there's a place in Arizona called Bearizona, and you can go and you can see bears and stuff.
That's adorable.
And I was telling my wife, I said, we're just gonna go there and we're just never gonna see us again. And like 6 months later, cops gonna come knock on the door, like, oh, we found their remains. They're eaten by bears. And she's just gonna be like, yeah. that sounds about right. No, I think Blink Twice is really well done. I think Zoe Kravitz, this is her first movie she directed. It might have been. I thought she did fantastic, and it's really nice to see almost like a rape revenge story from the viewpoint of a female, and not shot through the lens of a male who would never. We can't grasp all that scenario as well. So I thought Blink Twice is great. Channing Tatum playing a sleazy scumbag, I thought was really well done, because much like Bo Burnham in A Promising Young Woman, he doesn't look like your typical scumbag, right? Like Bo Burnham's a notoriously nice guy, and from what I've heard about Channing Tatum, he's supposed to be a nice guy. I don't know. So I think whenever you put someone in those kind of roles, it makes it a little bit more impactful. But yeah, like what sucks is that my 10 through 15 all could have been interchangeable. It was really, really hard to pick this year.
Yeah. Well, and Mondo, everything that you put on your list that I didn't, it's just because I haven't seen it yet. That's the only reason we normally track.
Well, I think like me, Jody, you spent a good portion of your year watching old sleazy ass movies.
I do. Yeah, I do. I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night the other night, and I'm like, yeah, this might be my favorite slasher.
It's a good one.
All right.
It's really
Let's
good.
move on to Kim's honorable mentions. Again, there's a lot of ones that we just haven't had a chance or opportunity to see, but one of them is Daddy's Head. Tell me, I've never heard about this. Tell me about
seen that yet.
So Daddy's Head is very, very, very creepy. There's like stuff about it that's like maybe not super refined, but it's really creepy. So if you it's a story about a little kid that loses their dad, hence the title. And then the twist that it takes into this nightmare are just like totally unexpected. If you can avoid reading much about it, like totally avoid it. I saw it at Fantastic Fest and I walked out and I was like, oh, this is the only movie at this whole festival that scared the hell out of me.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It's very dark. I don't know. It's a special one. I really recommend it. It was on Shudder for a while. I don't know if it still is, but if you can catch that one, like before it's one of those things that's going to get swept under the rug, but it totally deserves the attention.
I haven't seen it, but a friend of mine who kind of dabbles in horror watched it and said it made him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I like that. So I'll probably now I need to definitely put on my list.
Yeah, the acting's really good. The creature is creepy. And just like nothing else you're going to see. And it's in a setting that's very strange and surreal already. So it's a good one.
Okay. Your next one is Nosferatu.
I loved that. I watched it on yesterday. What day is it? How does this year over yet?
Who knows?
No. I loved Nosferatu. I was surprised because I wasn't really I love the Herzog version. I love the original, and I wasn't sure if I was going to like this because I think that Eggers can be a little hit or miss for me. And then it just, it was really well done. The reveals in it are interesting choices.
Yeah. I saw it yesterday too, so I was talking to you about that.
Yeah, I mean, we have him on both covers for Fango. Phil and Jason put him on both for the newsstand and the subscriber covers, but the subscribers are going to get the one of him in the movie, so I hope people get to see it. But he's interesting looking, so that was expected, but I was really, really happy with what they did with it, and just it's really beautifully shot. There's like a scene at Crossroads that I just think was one of the most like cinematically perfect visuals that I've seen in so long. Like I'm still just thinking it's just snowy crossroads with moonlight, and I was like, yes, this is for me. But I was happy with it.
Yeah,
I was really hoping to see that yesterday so I could maybe put in my top 10 list, but my child wants to go and my wife wants to go, so we're going Sunday. Yeah, see it.
Nice.
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm still digesting, and I haven't digested enough to put on my top 10 list. And then I was talking to people earlier, and I think I like the third act a lot more than the first, again because it's so close to the original. So I was kind of like, okay, move on. We know what's happening, but I think it just really ends really high.
Oh my god, the movie would be nothing, and I'm saying this again without spoilers, nothing without Willem Dafoe.
Oh yes. Yeah, yes. Once he shows up, that's when the movie really kicks into gear. But that's not until like halfway, a third of the way into the movie.
Do we get to see his confusing penis?
We do see a confusing penis, but
I mean, to be fair, we saw his confusing penis in Northman. So
that's true.
Because that was really his appendage just wrapped up.
New movie, new penis.
All right. Another movie you had on your list was Strange Darling. Again,
I was so fighting this because I didn't know, like, is this genre? Is it not? And I love Strange Darling, though. It's so good.
Yeah, I emailed back when you guys asked me to be on the show because it's like some of the stuff I like, I don't know if it counts. And Strange Darling and Love Lies Bleeding were two movies that would definitely go into my top 10. And I kind of had to like wrangle with a little bit, and I was like, well, really, in Love Lies Bleeding, Ed Harris is the horror for me. But in this movie, the ending of it is one of the scariest things that like rattled me watching it. And it's like you don't really even realize it when you're watching it, but that very long scene at the end, I was just like so screwed up by that. So I felt like it had to go on the list. And I didn't love it when I first watched it, and then I just kept freaking thinking about it, and I was like, this movie's messed up.
I just saw it. It's a movie. I think my wife and child might have been out of town. I turned it on. Like, I'll just watch it. I'll start watching it and then I'll finish it later. I'm doing some chores on the house. And then I was catching bits and pieces. I'm like, no, I need to turn this off right now. I need to sit down and watch this. And I watched it when she came home. And same thing. We just watched it like a month ago and it still has not left my head. Because there's so many, and it's a movie I think that really deserves multiple rewatches because of all the little things that get revealed over time. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I thought it was really kind of almost, I don't know if brave's the right word where it went, but it was it was unlike most things I've seen in that genre. How's it?
And it was nice to see Kyle Gallner just like take over a whole movie the way he did that.
I really need to give it a rewatch. I watched it, and for whatever reason, it did not hit for me at all. But I'm willing to give it another shot. A lot of times when movies just really bomb for me, if I give it another chance, I like it better the second time. So we'll give it another shot sometime.
My only complaint, I just can't take mustaches seriously. I don't know. When someone's got a mustache, I'm like, this guy.
I think maybe I was just in a like grumpy mood because as soon as like the movie started and it was like proudly shot in 35 millimeter, I'm like, oh, fuck you. Don't do that. That's stupid.
What do you mean, fuck you? That's Trap was also shot in 35.
Yeah, but they don't brag about it.
Dude, in this day and age,
it annoyed me. It annoyed me.
So when I was watching Strange Darling past that part, I was like, I don't like this movie. I actually really hate this. And then I kept watching. I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. And by the end of the movie, I was like, I really liked being that uncomfortable. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was setting me up so much. I was like, hate watching it for half of it, and then once it turns, I was like, okay, well done, you got me there.
Yeah, I think if I give it another shot, I'll probably like it better.
Yeah. All right, another one you had was Dead Talent Society. I haven't heard this one.
I haven't heard of this one either.
So this one was fun. It's like Lisa Frankenstein level, like a Beetlejuice kind of fun horror comedy. It's in Japan. Watched it at Fantastic Fest. I don't think it got released here yet, but it says 2024, so I counted it. But it's about in Japan, when you die, you have to like do like a YouTube level scare kind of thing to people to be able to like stay present in the world. Okay. Otherwise you poof out of existence. And there's like a Japan's Got Undead Talent show, and that's what the Dead Talent Society is. But it's really, really funny. So it's like it's like basically watching like D-list actors trying to like come up with these tropes, and they're usually doing like, you know, a water ghost or something that you've seen before in like a Japanese horror film, trying to scare people, and the other ghosts record it and watch it on TV and rate you. And it's got a lot of really sweet stories to it, which is cute, but it's I never saw anything like it. Like you know, like those movies I referenced, it has tones of that kind of like Tim Burton-esque kind of thing going on, but it's its total own thing, and all of the performances in it are good. It made me really happy.
That sounds. I love that concept. I'm totally into that idea.
I just added this on my list because that sounds right up my alley. I love horror comedies.
All right.
Oh, speaking of horror comedies, before we completely move on, one that I wanted to mention that I saw at Chattanooga Film Fest this year that people should check out is Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. It's a French vampire movie, and I never knew the French could be this funny. It was so funny and so cute. I really enjoyed it.
That was one of my biggest regrets of not being there in person, was because they did not put that on streaming.
It's so good.
But I'll be there this year, Jody. You take note, and we will touch eyeballs.
Okay, have fun with it.
No context, just leave it like that.
Yeah, a little inside joke there. It's fine.
All right, and then the last movie on your list is good old Frankie Frico.
I loved this movie, so I love like a little creature movie in the 80s, and that's exactly what they were going for, and that's what I was saying. The guy that did Psycho Gorman, Steve Kansky, did it, and it's like everything you want if you like the worst kind of creature movies like Munchies and stuff like that. Crazy little guys running around wreaking havoc, but they're so endearing. I already told them if they make a Frankie Frico doll, I want one.
Oh yeah, easy.
But it's just so cute and achieves so much character with their little puppet guys. I'm so impressed. So that definitely went on my list, if only because I want more people to watch it.
Yeah. I almost put that on there too. I was debating for my 10th. I really want like a drawstring version of the one that's a Shabadoo.
Yeah,
like one of those old school drawstring ones.
All three of the main puppets are adorable.
I still like to tell people that when Stephen Katansky was on our podcast, he told all of us that if we could get up to Canada, he'd kill us on film, and I am 100% ready for that. I just need to make it happen.
Yeah, I'll get a ticket to Canada. I love.
I want to be murdered in the
Psycho Gorman, and I know I'm gonna love this. I just have not gotten a chance to watch it yet.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, especially for people that grew up on those kind of like creepy creature films with the little guys. I think I've said it 3 times now. I love a little puppet, but it makes me really happy.
All right. Well, before we move on, let's do a quick shout out.
Hi, I'm Libby Letlow from the Fur Baby segment of VHS Beyond. Now get back in your cage and go listen to more Dads from the Crypt.
That's my proudest moments of the year. Was getting her to do that for us. She's such a sweetheart, and we did a really fun interview. So go check that out. Now at Dads of the Crypt, we like to talk about more than movies, so we just thought we'd go around and talk about 1 or 2 of our other favorite things from this year, be it music, TV, video games, etc. Mondo, why don't you start us off?
All right, I can just go on for forever about the music I love this year. The band Fulci came out with a great record called Duck Face Killings, based off the New York Ripper. They previously done movies about Oh my god, City of the Living Dead and Zombie. So that's pretty fantastic. John Carpenter had a new record this year, Lost Themes Volume 4, which everyone should check out. Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats released like a giallo album, which is fucking killer, which the name I'm not going to try to pronounce because it's like an Italian name, but it actually has Edwidge Fenech on the cover, on the cover, in the inner booklet, and actually she lends her voice to that release. Ooh, which is pretty killer. Also Migo the Devil had a new record, of my favorite artists. The Cannibal, Yours Until the War is Over, which was fantastic. Spectral Wound had a new record, which everyone should freaking listen to. And there was something else I really loved this year. I was trying to look through my Discogs list of all the stupid stuff. Chelsea Wolfe had a new record, She Reaches Out to She, which is really, really, really good. Opeth came out with The Last Will and Testament, which is Mike Ackerfeld growling once again. Bruce Dickinson came out with the Mandrake Project, his new solo record, which was phenomenal. And there's probably more stuff I like too, but I'll just leave it there so I just don't ramble on for the next hour and a half. Video game wise, nothing is better than Balatro. I'm just gonna say that right now.
You've got me started on that one. I started the other day, just played like, for a few minutes, but I'm already starting to get sucked into it.
Dude, it's stupid how much fun that game is. I don't play a whole lot of video games anymore because I don't have time, but that's the one that's like really hooked me this year. And TV shows, Fallout, I guess. Fallout new season of Cobra Kai was pretty good.
All right, Jody.
Yeah, as far as music, Kendrick Lamar came out with a new album this year, GNX, that I really liked. Tyler, the Creator, also came out with a new one. I said this gets to be, a white guy in his 40s talking about, current hip hop. But yeah, these are both great albums. I listened to a lot of a band that I just found this year that had a new album come out called Little Stranger. And I don't know what you'd call it. It's got some hip hop infused stuff. It's really, there's a lot of weed in it. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I was into it earlier this year. I went through a Sublime phase again, just because, some things go together. As far as TV, I really enjoyed Hysteria with Bruce Campbell in it. It was really a lot of fun. Some fun performances.
I haven't finished that yet, but I've loved what I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's really good.
Except for the fact I mentioned this before, it drives me nuts that the lead character is into satanic music, but listens to no satanic music.
I know. Yeah, it's this. Well, okay. So my defense of that is that when I was a kid, like my parents, I grew up very evangelical, and my parents went to a thing one time where it was like a special lecture at our church. And like they were talking about like the evil influences of music, and they were talking about like Van Halen. And this is like in the 90s, early 90s. So it didn't take much to count.
I like that. Okay, I like that.
Satanic music. But yeah, I really like that. Teacup was a fun little sci-fi horror thing that I enjoyed a lot, based on a Robert McCammon book. And I really like Robert McCammon. So Stinger, I think, is the book. Definitely worth checking out. I haven't played a ton of games this year. I wanted to play a ton of games this year, but again, just like Mondo said, time is the problem. There's been a lot of good comics that came out this year. EC Comics, 2024 was the relaunch of EC Comics with Cruel Universe and Epitaphs from the Abyss, and now there's another one too, Shiver
Suspense Stories.
That was a one-off.
Well, in the beginning of the year, it's going to be Cruel Kingdom.
Okay.
Creep Show also put out a comic.
Had stuff coming out. Mondo turned me on to Hello Darkness, which is another.
Have you been reading that?
Yeah, I've read every one of them.
So good.
Fantastic anthology series with a lot of good creepy stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff happening this year.
While you mentioned comics, before you get off comics, the DC reboot, the Absolute series, has been phenomenal by rebooting all these comic book characters that you know and maybe not love, and making them more relatable to the average person today, which is awesome. There's two comic series, Jody, I think you'd actually really love. One is called Ice Cream Man,
Oh, I love Ice Cream Man. I've been reading that one for a while.
Really? Yeah, I've never heard of it before. And I picked up one of the specials. I went back and bought some of the graphic novels. I loved it that much.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And then Dwellings. Have you heard of Dwellings?
Well, yes, I like Dwellings too. I've read that one too.
Yeah, really, really good horror influence stuff. And then there's a new one I've been reading. And God, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a demon who's a bartender.
Okay.
And then he basically came to Earth to be a demon and whatever, because he don't want to be a demon anymore because he fell in love. And it's about his struggles like in every day-to-day life, and it's actually pretty cool. So I've only read the first issue by.
I'll recommend one more to you. Mondo and I are just having a conversation now. There is a series that came out this year called Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and it's a world full of anthropomorphized animals, and there's murder and serial killers, and people find out about serial killers and blackmail, and it's all cutesy like bears and stuff. Like it's really well done though, very gory and violent too, but with cutesy characters.
There was a great, and they just re-released it as a special edition, but there's a great graphic novel. Jason's already like, it's fucking moving on, but I can see
it. We would derail it.
I know that. Look, this isn't derailing. We're talking end of the year.
Yes, we are.
But it's called We 3.
Okay.
If you haven't read We 3, I highly recommend that. It's basically 3 house pets who are put into lab testing, and they escape the lab and then go on a crazy adventure. But it's very, very dark and very sad. But a really great story, because anything with animals just tears my heartstrings, and this is really freaking good.
I'll throw in one more 2024 thing I loved. I've been reading more. I got a new Kindle this year, and I've actually been picking it up more often. Stephen Graham Jones' newest, I Was a Teenage Slasher. I loved every second of that movie or that book. I actually listened. I don't do a lot of audiobooks, but I listened to that one on audiobook, and it was so perfectly done. The guy had just enough of a Texas accent to pull it off. It had characters that I still think about all the time. I love those characters. I love that book. I don't remember. Did Grady's new book come out this year? How to Sell a Haunted House?
Yes. No, it might have come out last year.
Okay. I can't remember when it was released. Paul Tremblay's horror movie.
Oh, is so good.
Horror movie was awesome. I bought that right before I went to my buddy's wedding, which I missed Chattanooga Film Festival for. And I read it, like I was on the plane and I read it. I was reading most of it. And then I read it once I got back to the Airbnb. I'm like, I'm just going to finish this book because I need to read it right now.
We just did it for Fangoria Book Club, and I'm obsessed. It was cool.
I love it. So and good. One more, Josh Mallerman's Incidents Around the House. I really liked a lot. It's told from the perspective of like an 8-year-old girl, which can get a little. I could see if I was reading it, it could be a little grating. But this is one I also listened to the audiobook of, and the voice actress who pulled off the little girl character and like talked for the parents and everything was so good. She's like a 14-year-old, and she is fantastic. So Incidents Around the House by Josh Mallerman, definitely worth checking out, especially an audiobook.
I haven't read that. I'm going to add that to my list. I want to tackle a book since we just ran down a book list, but my friend Danger Slater came out with a book called Starlit. It's like a really good occult magic bizarro fiction book.
That
I highly recommend. So that was other than that was mostly my reading list for this year.
I had a very busy year, so I didn't have much time for many other things. I did play, I know it came out last year, but the Resident Evil 4 remake was excellent. I had so much fun with that, even on my my Steam Deck. Really fun with that. I haven't played that game since like GameCube or whatever it was.
It was one of my favorites back in that era.
Yeah, I love that game back then. It was just really fun going back to that. I really enjoyed that. But I almost put this on my movie list just as a cheat, but the Creep tapes are excellent. It's so much fun, especially the last two are like really spectacular. Like each one is good in its own right. By like episode 3 and 4, you're like, okay, it's kind of it still switches it up, but it's kind of the same. But then the last two, 5 and 6 hit, and you're like, wow.
Okay.
And I really want them to do more.
Yeah, Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass premiered them at Fantastic Fest. They showed 1, 5, and 6, and after that, I chased Patrick through the Alamo Draft House And he's like 7 feet tall, and I shouldn't have chased him through the draft house and told him I was obsessed with Creep and he had to come on our Fangoria subscriber community, and he did, and it was super nice of him, even though he looked terrified of me. Those movies, they're my favorite horror films of the last, I guess now you can almost say 15 years. It's going on 11 for the first one. But Mark Duplass' character is Peach Fuzz is just so cool, Joseph. And then all those films, each the original 2 films are only like 75 minutes long. So really, you have like 8 movies now with the show.
Yeah, I rewatched Creep 2 right before watching the Creep tapes just to like get up to speed or just to like immerse myself. That movie's so damn good.
My first exposure to Mark Duplass was that weird FX show. It's a comedy show called The League.
Yeah, I love The League.
And, I like The League, and to see him kind of play this horror character and be super into the genre, and now obviously with Blumhouse and everything, making movies is awesome to see because he's so good at being the goofy, creepy guy.
Yeah, it's a fine line between the goofy guy and the creepy guy. That's what he shows.
I mean,
if you watch The League, he's goofy, but he leans the goofy side. And Creep, he's goofy, but he leans a little bit enough over to the creep side, where you always have those questions like, what are his motivations? And then you realize what his motivations are, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah, it's like if you had a modifier and you just turned up the creepy a little bit on him as a person, you keep going, and that would be Joseph's character. It's very funny to watch. They're like, you'd be really good at being just as you, a serial killer. Let's run with that.
Yeah, he would actually be a really good Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he actually would be. I wish some people had that dial where you could just turn the creepiness factor down on them a little bit.
All right, and then the other thing, and I was a very latecomer to Chucky. So I was only like within the last year or so that I like finally really got into it. But man, that season 3 was so fucking good, and I'm sad that's going.
The heartbreak.
I still have faith that it'll come back because it's still such a popular property. It'll come back in some form or another.
I haven't finished the new season because I think I'm on boycott right now. I'm just pissed off because I need more Chucky. I need more Jennifer Tilly in my life, and
but this might have been my favorite of the seasons.
But if the show is canceled, there's still that hope that we could get Chucky in space, and that's something to live for.
Well, and I have faith in Don Mancini.
Yeah.
He will not let it die. He's still there. He's still helming the ship. He's going to get it there. We'll get more Chucky somehow.
But that's whether
all I know is good Chucky is one of my favorite things I've ever seen on the screen in years and years and years and years.
It wasn't from this season, but there was a character death in the show that was one of the most devastating character deaths I've seen in a long time. Just absolutely crushed me. So they did a good job. Great characters, great storytelling.
It's also and credit to Dan. I'm a little buzzed now. Damn, sorry. For the portrayal of the 2 main characters, and they don't ever go. They just start 2 guys who happen to be gay and love each other, and that's fucking awesome. Like they don't go over the top on that. So
it feels like a story he's been wanting to tell for a while.
It's very organic, and that's what I really love about it.
All right, Kim, your turn.
I think we covered my TV favorites besides What We Do in the Shadows ending this year, which I haven't watched the season finale yet. But
I haven't yet either.
Much. So that's like another hard loss for me between that and Chucky.
What I will say though, watching this season, they ended at the right time. They're running out of ideas, and I think it's okay. I'd rather them end the show. And I'm interested in what you think about the finale. I actually really enjoyed the finale.
I'm excited to watch it. I just wasn't ready to let go.
Yeah. the last scene had me almost crying in laughter. I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah. The Warriors tribute this season was a lot of fun too. That made me happy.
Yeah.
Glad to have that. And then
Nandor the janitor, my favorite thing they've ever done. Actually, he's got a mop and he's mopping the carpet and mopping the walls, just throwing away the coffee maker because it's dirty.
But I'm gonna miss that show, so that's another thing that I'm mourning right now. But I hope we get another season of the Creep tapes. That would make me really happy. I know they're talking about it, so maybe that's something Shudder will give us to fill the void that we have with losing those other shows.
And those episodes can't cost more than
right.
It'd be so cheap to make. Just give them whatever and let them go at it.
Well, they're owned by WBD now, sadly, and WBD is all about producing content for as cheap as humanly possible. So, and hopefully though with Shudder, because all they're really doing a lot of times is buying rights to movies that no one's ever heard of and rights to old movies. That it seems like for a while there, they really cut down the amount of content they were releasing. And then they've kind of ramped it back up a little bit, which is a very, very good sign for Shudder.
Yes. And we already hit my favorite books. And then there was a couple of albums that I really loved this year. And I feel like I haven't gotten an album I love recently in a couple of years. Besides, if anybody follows me on social media, I have an embarrassing obsession with Post Malone. But I'm owning it. I'm owning it. But
Post Malone though is one of those artists. I don't enjoy his music, but I think he sounds like just like an awesome person, and he's a killer musician. He did a cover of something this year. I can't remember what it was. My child sent it to me. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. It's like a I think he did a Black Sabbath cover.
I mean, I saw a video somewhere, TikTok or something like that, of Post Malone dancing on stage, and I'm like, he dances like every dad on the planet. That's great.
He also loves Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, that converted a lot of people. Some of my writer friends refer to him as their favorite Magic the Gathering player, which I think is
awesome.
But Shushu, who's Creep adjacent because they were featured in the credits for Creep 2, came out with a new album and did a tour, and they've been one of my favorite bands since I was a teenager. And if you're not familiar with Shushu, it's XIU, but they are like a strange experimental electronic, I don't even know what to call them, but they make really weird, fun albums that sound like nothing else you've ever heard before, and they do really strange performances. So their new album is called 13-inch Frank Beltrame Italian Stiletto with bison horn grips, and that is a lot of fun. All their albums are slightly different. They're very prolific. They've come out with like 20 albums since I was in high school. The first album, Fabulous Muscles, like if you grew up in the early 2000s, was like a huge deal if you were an art school kid. So glad to see they're still doing it. And then Vision Video had a new album called Modern Horror, which was really good. They do like a dark synthy 80s style pop punk goth kind of thing. So it was nice to get a new album from them. Something else. Oh, and Wild God, the Nick Cave album was amazing. And those are my top albums for the year. So if you're a Nick Cave fan, Wild God was the last couple he did were a little too ambient for me, and this went back to more of his traditional music, but still some of the modern stuff. So I was excited.
I've never gotten super into Nick Cave, but every now and again I'll hear something he makes and it just hits. Oh, that's badass. Nice. That's cool. But he's one of the artists though, that like, even though he's not for me, I get the fandom behind him because he's a phenomenal musician, phenomenal artist, and phenomenal vision.
I went through a phase of his in the 90s when the Scream came out and I heard Red by Hand. And I was like, okay, let me look up. I got his like best ever or some compilation, and I need to dive back in because he's good shit.
Yeah. I always like when people describe him as the skeletons playing their own ribs as a xylophone would be Nick Cave's music.
Yeah.
I love that. And then, I mean, we have to mention our good friend that made our theme music, right?
Oh yes. Mr. Eric Newell of Hi-Fi came out with another album, HYFY. I think it's called Ghost, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. I think it's my favorite thing he's done. Yeah, as an artist, it's really good.
Yeah, each album definitely like they're all good, but like you can definitely feel the progression. It's really cool.
It's really good.
All right. Well, as we close the book on 2024, we want to look ahead to 2025 and talk about.
Jason, did you give us your favorite music, or did I just forget?
I did not really listen to much favorite music. I kind of. Right. I'll say this: my favorite new music I listened to was stuff that you recommended on the show, like Sonolith.
There you go.
Do songs? So I told my buddy that plays in Sonolith, and he was just like flattered. And I'm like, hold on a second. You have more listeners than we have listeners, so it's okay.
I follow them on Instagram. I'm waiting for them to come to LA. I want to go to one of their shows.
I don't think they will because most of them are local guys. They're playing Maryland Doom Fest, which is not the same as Maryland Death Fest. So that'll be pretty cool. But Jason, you should come out to Vegas and come see them. And I have a couch that you can't sleep on, but I'll help you out. I'll get you a hotel hookup.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, no, I've mostly listened to like I guess the new Body Count album was pretty good. Speaking of white guys in the rap music,
Well, so body count's not rap music. It's Ice-T.
Well,
Ice-T's a huge metalhead, man, and it's really freaking cool to see.
But no, like I said, it's been a very busy year. New job, lots of other crap going on. So I didn't have much time for new music. But thank you,
Jason,
Mondo,
listen
for
to that.
my horizons.
Listen to that Uncle Acid record.
Uncle Acid
and the Deadbeats.
All right, got it.
So the early stuff, actually, I think you'd actually like their whole catalog because the earlier stuff, or actually every record except for the new one, has been kind of like stoner doom metal.
Okay.
And very well done, but they've always had that like soundtrack flair. And then with this new record, when they went total Italian horror soundtrack, it's just like fuck. And if you have a record player, buy the fucking vinyl because the presentation is unreal how they do it. I'm just gonna put it that way.
I will not, but thank you for that. I did go through.
I did
go through an insane clown posse phase for like a month or so after watching Off Ramp because that's such.
I love Off Ramp.
Off Ramp's so good. That wasn't a horror movie, but it's on our top.
It was so good.
Yeah, Kimberly, did you see we did an interview with the filmmakers? Check it out.
Yeah, they're super nice people. I've talked to them a few times. I didn't expect to love that movie so much.
Yes, I was blown away. I watched it like twice
after Chattanooga when I was kind of asking Jody like, "Hey, what should I watch?" And he goes, "This may sound weird, but you have to watch this Juggalo movie called Off Ramp."
Yes,
and I watched it and I was like, "Holy shit, dude! Thank you so much. I'm so glad I watched that."
Yeah, Chris Dortch from Chattanooga got me to watch it, and then I kept recommending it to people, and they're like, "What's it about?" And I'm like, "Juggalos." And they're like, "It's about Juggalos."
You always have to kind of apologize, like it's about Juggalos, but.
Well, they also did that movie with the actress who was the star of Orange Is the New Black, Taylor Schilling.
Well, which one
called Family. About
she
basically comes back into her niece's life, who's a young girl, but she's really into juggalos. She's really into ICP, and it's a super heartwarming movie. Like so that, I think that kind of like softened the blow for watching a full juggalo movie. And but then I met a real juggalo, and I brought the movie Off Ramp to him. And he's like, okay, I was like, okay, well, we're not gonna talk anymore. So.
If we're gonna shout out I don't want to go down that road, but Anora is my favorite comedy of the year. Check it out.
Inside Out 2 is great. You need to watch it. I have a teenager right in that puberty stage, and it's so good. We clipped a little segment of the little girl like losing her mind and like all the emotions just like turning the dial up to 100 because that's what it's like having a 13-year-old in your house. It's fantastic.
All right. I had a whole transition and Mondo had to interrupt me, but
what the fuck? Like you can blame me because I laughed. I'm sorry, Jason, for having emotion. I'm gonna talk my favorite non-horror movie now, which is Billy and Molly, an Otter Love Story. It's about it's a documentary about a guy who kind of falls in love with an otter that kind of comes up onto his property and builds her a little house and everything. It's a heartwarming story.
Okay.
Right. No, okay. Jason, don't make that fucking face. No, it's nothing weird.
It's not, they like builds an otter suit and lives in there with her.
This isn't a shitty Kevin Smith. I love Kevin Smith, but it's not a shitty Kevin Smith film. But.
All right. Like I was trying to say, as we turn the page on 2024, look ahead to 2025, we want to briefly talk about movies that we are looking forward to. And Kimberly, you helped us out by putting a call out for some people on Twitter to see what they were looking at too. So do you want to share some of those?
I haven't looked at that in a minute. I'm looking forward to everything in 2024. It's going to be another delicious year of horror movies that I can't wait for, but let me go find that list. 2025.
While you're doing that, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein.
Yes.
So pumped. And then before my showing of Nosferatu, we saw like the extended trailer for The Monkey.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Looks really good. Another Oz Perkins joints.
One that I'm really excited for is Hard Eyes.
Me too. That's on my list.
Directed by Josh Rubin from College Humor, Dropout, all that stuff. Written by Christopher Landon, who wrote Freaky, which I freaking love.
Yep.
It looks great. It looks like a lot of fun. The final scene of the trailer where you're seeing things through someone's like pierced head and like through the hole. Ah, man, that's my stuff.
Yeah, it has Devin Sawa. Josh Rubin's in an episode of the Crypt Tapes.
Oh, he is.
He is.
Oh. Yeah, he's great in that. He's in the third
Dropout
one.
TV is like one of my favorite things in the entire world.
Constantly.
It's my favorite thing to pop an edible before I go to bed and just put on Dropout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brennan Lee Mulligan is doing his Dimension 20 show live here in Vegas.
Ooh.
So I need to start getting into it.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Huh?
28 years later?
I thought we were stalling for you.
Are we still stalling?
For me?
No.
I thought we were stalling for Jason, but he just
no. Kim was bringing it up.
Oh well, the submissions I got were for Hard Eyes. Somebody on Twitter said The Shrouds, which I'm looking forward to. If you want some sad Cronenberg, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm a big Cronenberg fan. And then I'm looking forward to Companion. I want that movie to be out now.
Yeah.
With Sophie Thatcher. I had 2 teeth pulled last week, so if I sound ridiculous, it's back here. But I'm like, Sophie Thatcher is hard to say when you have 2 teeth pulled. So that's going to be a fun, really dark movie. And there's so much stuff coming out next year. I feel like that's a whole other of things. But most of the people I had said that. There was somebody who was obviously kidding, talking about the Bambi movie. The remake.
I'll watch it.
And then speaking of Frankenstein, I'm looking forward to The Bride, the Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Oh, is that next year? Okay. Well, Mondo or Jody, what's that? The pony movie or the unicorn?
Death of a Unicorn.
Death of a Unicorn. That looks so good.
I am so excited. That is my most anticipated movie.
I'm all in for Happy Gilmore too, but
yeah, I saw that Happy Gilmore teaser. It looks great.
Fear Street Prom Queen, the new Fear Street movie. I liked all the Fear Street movies. A new Final Destination's coming out next year, and I love Final Destination. A lot of good stuff. Next year. Hell House, Megan 2.0, Poohniverse, Monsters Assemble.
What?
It's all the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, public domain characters.
Okay.
Peter Pan, Pinocchio, Winnie the Pooh. Oh, so when I talked about 2024, I almost put Blood and Honey 2 on there, not because it was good, because it was so much better than the first Blood and Honey.
It was better.
It was way better. I'm not saying it's good, but it's way better. So I'm hoping maybe they can keep going.
Do I need to watch the first before I watch the second?
No, it's the first one's bad. First one's just real bad. It's just real bad. Thanksgiving 2 should be coming out sometime, maybe 2025.
Are they doing that as like a direct sequel to the original?
Yeah, they're filming that now.
Like in the same world.
Eli Roth's directing and everything. Yeah, they're.
No, what I mean though, is it going to be like the same casting characters, or is it going to be a different? I was wondering.
Well, they haven't said. I'm assuming at least some of the characters will be back, but they haven't said anything.
Looks like next year is when they're releasing Until Dawn, the movie adaptation of the PlayStation game. Which PlayStation
game was so good.
That game is so good. I got a big list here I'm looking at. I know what you did.
Strangers Chapter 2?
What?
The Strangers Chapter 2 is coming out next
week? It's that new Strangers series.
I didn't watch the first one after our friends over at Blood Good Horror just decimated it. Like saying it was a horrible movie.
We've got
Wolfman this year, right?
Yeah, Wolfman's next year.
I can't talk about that, but I got to see it. So that was, I almost stuck that on my list. I was like, I can't talk about that one.
Yeah. We've got I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel coming this year with Jennifer Love Hewitt still in it. So
oh really?
I'm interested.
Silent Night, Deadly Night remake. A new VHS movie.
Supposedly a new Return Living Dead.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because like they're selling Tarman figures and stuff from the new movie that the figures look great, but from what I've heard is that it's going to be almost like a Creep Show 3 kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Lena Quigley has talked about how she has her own sequel to Return of the Living Dead, like Trash something. I don't remember what it's called.
Is the Steamboat Willie horror movie coming out this year or next year?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. The only one of what's that?
Didn't it come out already?
There's another one. There's a lot of them.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. But there is one. Hopefully comes out next year. Oswald Down the Rabbit Hole, which is like the Steamboat Willie movies, except for it actually has animation in it. Kind of Roger Rabbit-y with a murderous rabbit. So, I like Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, that's a pretty good movie.
Roger Rabbit's like one of my favorite movies.
I know. It's an amazing movie.
Yeah.
I was underplaying that one.
The Black Phone Part 2. There's a new Conjuring movie, apparently.
All right. Well, I think we'll be...
Last Conjuring movie, I think. Supposed to be.
Yeah, the last one. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff coming out.
Do they finally find Jesus in this one?
It's the Warren, so they'll just lie and said they did. It's fine.
I will say, so the Conjuring movies, they're fine. Annabelle Comes Home, the third Annabelle movie is a really good movie. I enjoy it a lot. I like that. It's like a haunted house like attraction where you just go through and there's a new ghost every room that you go into. It's fun stuff.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up another
Speaking of
episode.
Jesus, happy Hanukkah, right?
Those two things don't belong.
This is a great transition there.
Yeah.
So we're recording day after Christmas. Is today first day or was yesterday first day?
Yesterday was the first night.
First night. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a new Saw movie coming out next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And supposedly, actually, judging by the list I just pulled up, 2 The Strangers movies coming out next year.
Yay.
Imagine you can fail so greatly that they give you the money to make 2 more movies.
Well, the movie that my 8-year-old is most excited about next year, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is coming out. But you know what? The first one wasn't terrible. It was fine to watch with my 8-year-old. He had a good time.
I didn't watch the movie, but I legit love anything that's kind of... I don't think we had it when we were kids. We didn't have really gateway horror when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool. Like, here, sit in front of this TV and watch this R-rated movie. I know you're 5. It's fine. But
Gremlins.
But I love that nowadays you have like these movies kind of geared towards younger kids that kind of like integrate them into the genre.
All right. Anything else? We're good.
Yeah, I think we're all right, Jason. We've done good work today. It's been a good day.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for listening throughout the year. We really appreciate everyone's support and just going on this crazy journey with me and my buddies. Thank you guys for Mondo and Jody for being excellent co-hosts and keep me on my toes. And Kim, thank you for coming on multiple episodes this year and all of our other guests. We always appreciate it. And with that, we appreciate everyone for listening. We would really appreciate it if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Adios.
Goodbye. Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.